Welcome, everyone, to another episode of 10 Words or Less, in which I ask brief questions of interesting people and ask them for brief answers in return. Today's guest is not easily classified. He's an author, he's a professional speaker focused on wellness, and an official spokesman for the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Ontario, Canada, all while he keeps his day job for Canada's largest telecom. His book, From Survivor to Thriver, the story of a modern-day Tin Man, has just come out. We'll learn a little bit more about that. But my usual reminder to everyone, 10 words is an ethic, not a limit. So please, you at home, no counting. If you think it's easy, let's see you do it, especially on the fly. So, Brian, I always start in the same place. People who've watched more than one of these are probably sick of it. But even though I know the answer, I would like you to spell your first and last names as you would like them to appear.
Sure, it's Brian. Last name is Campkin.
Excellent. Born when and where? Please be specific.
Born December 3rd, 1960 in Trenton, Ontario, Canada.
Trenton, Trenton?
Correct.
And where do you reside now?
I am in Whitby, Ontario, which is just outside of the greater metropolis of Toronto in what we call the GTA, or Greater Toronto Area.
Excellent. And I just went through it, but I always ask, and for you it's a multiple choice question, I guess. What's your job?
I work for Rogers Communications here in Canada. They are the largest telecom provider here in Canada. They have a 12-year NHL agreement, owners of the Toronto Blue Jays. Great organization, and my role is an inside sales manager selling their portfolio of products to small business.
Okay, I should explain for you, but also for people listening, there may be some awkward pauses here, and the reason for that is that I'm taking notes as we go along. Now, I will check back with the video for any gaps in the speed of my typing, but the reason I'm taking notes is that later I'm going to edit the transcript that results from my typing, and then I'm going to send it to you for your approval. Now, the reason I do that is that I may move some things around, I may combine answers, I may drop question-answer pairs, and normally when I was a daily newspaper journalist I wouldn't do that, period, but now I can do whatever I want. And the idea is that I send it to you, you approve it, and if you don't approve it, we'll work it out. You know, if you think I got something wrong or left out an important point. And then when I publish it, even though it's not exactly what everybody could check by just looking at the video, that's also going to remain archived, you will be secure in knowing that nothing went out purporting to be your comments or thoughts that you didn't approve beforehand. Okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Please tell me, again, I think I know the answer to this one too, but certainly less chance for accuracy than the spelling of your name. What is your family circumstance? Married, wife, kids, anything like that?
Sure. Married, 3 daughters. Eldest is also married, and I have a grandson who will celebrate his first birthday on Valentine's Day of this year.
That is a tough birthday to have.
It's right in the middle of Heart Month, so for me it was kind of surreal.
Awesome. Great. All right. Let me just... Okay. So tell me an early influence on you outside of your family. That could be a person, an event, a thing, whatever you think of.
It would be an event. When I was in grade school, I wasn't the biggest kid in the class. I was a December baby, so typically the smallest. But I had a good sense of humor, and I could run fast, and both of those got me out of a ton of trouble. It was bullying, and watching others being bullied, and being the smallest, I still came to their rescue. It's just something I won't stand for, to see another human being picking on another for whatever reason they think is fair. It's not.
Very revealing. Thanks for sharing that. Tell me something that you learned before age 10 that still matters to you.
Your word is your bond.
A historical figure whom you particularly admire.
John Lennon. I like where he came from. I like where he got to. I don't like how he ended, but that wasn't his doing. That was a bully.
Certainly couldn't argue with your characterization of that, but I never thought of Chapman as a bully.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tell me some wisdom that you've learned from working in a very large organization.
You need to be sensitive to other people. Check your ego at the door. At the end of the day, we all have to deal with each other. And my dad taught me to treat the janitor, not that it's a lesser role, the same as I would the CEO and everyone in between. And that's what I do every day.
Excellent. Do you think that you always had a speaker inside of you? And of course, I don't mean a woofer and tweeter.
Absolutely not would be the short answer. I almost failed grade 5 because I would not do the public speaking assignment. I almost failed grade 10 theater arts because I would not do an improv. I only took that program because I followed a cute girl into it. I should have stayed in history like I was going to. And I couldn't finish my speech at my own wedding because I was too shy. And I wore my heart on my sleeve. It's something I'm proud of now, but hid behind at one time.
Interesting. So tell me, most of us perhaps have more than one, so but still, what was your defining moment?
Defining moment. You know, I think it was having to take on heart disease. It changed who I was, how I thought of things, how I reacted. It's still a work in progress because nobody's perfect, but I'm a lot better than I used to be with the broken heart or not.
Interesting turn of a phrase. Tell me about your broken heart.
So it wasn't broken by a woman or a girl or a female in this regard. You know, I was diagnosed with heart disease in 2008. At the time, was 46 and in the best shape of my life, or so I thought. And I was on the tennis court and couldn't breathe. And 5 weeks of tests and an angiogram later, it was determined that of my 4 main arteries, 3 were clogged at about 100%. I was barely firing on one cylinder on that tennis court. That's a big glass of lemonade.
For surgery, rate your health awareness from on a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. Before this all happened,
Okay.
rate your health awareness on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being not aware, 10 being...
I would rate it a 7.
And still, until this incident on the tennis court, you weren't aware of this defect in your body.
I wasn't aware that heart disease could be prevalent to you through your family history and genetics, and that's what hit me was genetics. My dad went on a vacation to Florida in 1991, and the day before he was to return at the age of 61 had a massive heart attack and died. I didn't realize that that was in my gene pool. I got the smoking, the overweight, I got the lack of exercise, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, etc. Understood. There's my 7. The sandpaper on the edges was not knowing some of those other smaller, I say smaller things, other things.
And when your dad died at a relatively early age, did he have some of these other risk factors so that without some real, CSI type investigating, no one would know that it was genetic, that it was just he hadn't...
Yeah, for sure. So he was a smoker. He was overweight. He didn't exercise. He didn't eat that. Different generation, right?
Yeah, of course.
So as I was growing up, luckily I enjoyed sports. So for me, it wasn't exercise. It was playing a game, and that's what I do today. It's not my exercise of 30 minutes 5 times a week consists of chasing a fuzzy ball with a tennis racket, and I'll do it for hours on end. But you tell me to go run a 10K, I might politely tell you where to go.
Well, I saw you climbed the 7 mountains of, was it Vancouver?
No, it was actually here in Toronto through the Heart and Stroke Foundation a few years ago. They called it the 7 Summits Climb, and we climbed the 7 tallest financial towers in downtown Toronto, and those steps actually replicated the 7 summits, the mountains, if you like. That was the year after my surgery. I was able to do 5 of the 7 buildings. It wasn't my heart that gave out. It was one of my legs. on the 52nd floor of 55 floors. So never completed that one, but you have to have some failure to know what success looks like.
I hear you. All right, tell me something that surprised you about having surgery.
What you're able to bounce back from and how fast. They had me up and walking pretty quick. Now, here's the thing. I set a lot of goals for myself. All I wanted to do was get on recovery road so that the ball was back in my court and my heart was back in my chest, because now I was in control. To be wheeled into that operating room and have your heart in the hand of a surgeon and his team, that's faith.
Something that surprised you about the recovery.
That first sneeze hurt like a son of a gun. And it came out of nowhere.
Now, when you say it came out of nowhere, you didn't know you were going to sneeze, or you didn't know it was going to hurt that much?
Yeah, I figured it would. I wasn't expecting it. It was actually Mother's Day morning. I was lying in bed. I woke up early that day, and I put the TV on quietly on the sports channel, letting my wife sleep in beside me. I just got all settled in after wrestling with the 81 staples holding me together, and I was just enjoying the sports program when, out of nowhere, I sneezed. And I don't know what scared my wife the most, the sneeze or the blood-curdling scream I let out that sounded like I had died.
Oof.
And to say the least, I got her a bigger card later that day.
So tell me, is it lucky or useful to have a near-death story when you speak?
Everybody's got a story. I think we can all make a difference in this world. Mine happens to deal with a life-altering situation. And I give back. And the reason I share my story is I speak from two voices, if you like. Out of one side of my mouth, it's a voice of hope. For those that have been diagnosed, I'm proof there's life after the knife. For those that haven't, then I can teach them the guidelines of prevention to keep them away from treatment trail, if you like, and a life of well-being and health.
Tell me, you mentioned it already, I think, but what's a significant way you're different today?
When you go through something like this, you tend to see things differently. You know, driving to work, I don't get fussed about somebody cutting me off or a bus getting in front of me. Am I perfect yet? No, but I just find a good radio station or a good thought, and I just go there, versus letting all those little insignificant things in life bring you down. Life's too short. Enjoy what you got, and you know, you want to leave your mark. You want to. I saw a saying once. You want to slide into that coffin or gravesite sideways as fast as you can, going, "All right, I'm done. Made a difference." That's a good feeling.
Tell me about an obvious fact about wellness that still needs to be said.
Everybody believes in the "it can't happen to me" syndrome. I'll just have that one brownie. I'll just have that one French fry. I'll just cheat on this, cheat on that. You know, it isn't rocket science. It's exercise daily, watch your diet, and you know, look, if you smoke, you should stop. And this isn't Brian's words. I got these from my cardiologist. You know, if you smoke, stop. If you don't go for a regular physical, start. If you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, take your meds. If you don't know, go for your physical. Exercise 5 times a week, 30 minutes a day, and exercise common sense. It doesn't mean you can't have some of those things in life that aren't so-called good for you. It's about moderation and portion control. Here in Canada, we have the Canada Food Guide. I'm sure in the United States they have something similar. I got that when I left the hospital after being diagnosed, and it was on my fridge because it told me at what age, what amount of servings I had to have of fruit, vegetables, and the other things that we eat, fish, poultry, breads, etc.
Well, we have something. I hope yours is better than ours. Tell me something that surprised you about writing a book.
I didn't think, you know, people always say, how long did that take? That must have been daunting. The story was burning inside. So to release it was the easiest part. It wasn't that difficult to write. It's your story. You know what it is. It's not like I was trying to make something up. It was factual. The hardest part is, as Joe Public, just some guy out of Whitby, Ontario, Canada, you know, getting a publisher and someone that believes in your story. That was the hard part. But you know what? Writing it, I did it in 4 months, part-time, mostly on weekends. And it was actually a great therapeutic exercise to relive what I had gone through. I had forgotten some things. People want to know if there's going to be a sequel. I'm hoping there isn't an event that causes that.
Well, that was my next question. Not sequel necessarily, but do you think you'll write another book?
Right now, the answer would be no. I want to make a success of this book. And people ask me, well, what does success look like for the book? The purpose of the book is, as I mentioned before, speaking from a voice of hope and prevention, is to change people's lives into motivating wellness. When the book came out just before Christmas, that's how I positioned it on my social media sites. Give or get the gift of wellness. And that's really what the book is about. I want to be a part of curing heart disease here in Canada and abroad, and create more survivors, which is the mantra for the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada here, who has supported my book both by the CEO writing the foreword. I have a heart healthy recipe at the end of each chapter, and lucky to have their lovely logo adorn the back jacket as well.
Tell me something people don't understand.
I kind of touched on it before. I really believe there's a stigma of this. It won't happen to me. We just believe it. Yet, a good friend of mine from my work industry, who's turned into a friend to both him and his wife, 2 weeks ago, I had to go to his dad's funeral, who had just retired, and he suffered a massive stroke at home, and he was just starting to enjoy the grandkids, and who knows what was beyond the other side of that. I want those stories to go away. And it wasn't that the individual was living in denial or anything like that. I'm just tired of getting those emails and voicemails or phone calls and having to attend those types of events. I'd rather stop them from happening, and that's the passion.
Tell me a goal that you haven't reached yet.
Still haven't got to the top of my tennis ladder, but I'm working on it. When I was going through this and had shortness of breath on the tennis court, I was in the lower division, working my way just to the top of that tier. This past fall league that just wrapped up before Christmas, I did make it to the top of the tennis ladder. It also had our tennis pro on that court. And in life, you either lose or get a valuable lesson, or pardon me, either win or get a valuable lesson. That evening, I got a valuable lesson. So I ended up 6 out of 36. I wasn't on court one. I'm sniffing on the outside. And, I was told I'd never play tennis again, so that's why there's a burn. People say to me, why do you go for that ball, or how did you get that? Another mindset kicks in that says, not on my watch. I don't get them all, but I get a lot of them.
Awesome. Well, it's very inspiring to hear you talk about your experience and what you're doing with it. I certainly wish you the very best. I thank you for spending this time with me. Well, let me ask you, is there a question I should have asked you that I didn't?
Why the Tin Man? I get that a lot. So the book is Survivor to Thriver, the story of a modern-day Tin Man. It's available on Amazon.com. The Tin Man reference comes from my youngest was in grade 8 at the time, or about 12, 13 years of age when I was diagnosed, and she was confused. And her favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz. So I explained my situation like this. I told her that I was the Tin Man, and my heart was broken, and I had to go see the wizard, who was a surgeon, and it wasn't Emerald City, it was the hospital called St. Michael's here in Toronto, and he was going to fix me. And she looked me in the eye and said, so they're going to cut you open, move all kinds of stuff around to make you better, Dad. I said, yeah, you pretty much nailed it. Okay, can I go play? I shared that story once at the Heart and Stroke Foundation, and it took off like a bushfire. When I go there today, they don't say, hey, Brian, they say, hey, Tin Man. And it's just something that's stuck, and I have a license plate that says that today.
Okay, Tin Man. Well, I wish you the best with your book, with your speaking, with everything else. And great to know you. Great to hear about you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the time. You have a wonderful day.
Okay, good night.